here if we got any live video. Yeah. Looks like we're
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay,
Yep, we're good
cool.
now.
All right, guys. So we have Isam with us. He's 21 years old. He flew in today from Seattle, right?
Yes.
Cool. Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you for having me.
We just got done doing a meeting. About 40 agents we were training and helping them get going with Family First Life. And I wanted to get Isam on here because, one, he's out there selling, doing really well. And also your age, you're 21 years old.
Correct.
And I think a lot of 21-year-olds could do this, but they don't know what it entails. So if you can kind of tell us a little bit about you, how'd you end up at Family First Life, and your experience so far?
Well, thanks for having me here again. So basically, when I first started in the life insurance industry, I was in the car business, selling cars, right? Doing pretty good for myself and my family. And as soon as I figured out this life insurance deal and what it can do for my family and the amount of financial freedom that I can acquire through it, I jumped right in, right? The only thing is that the IMO I was in didn't provide any leads.
Okay.
Right? So that was my biggest mistake that I've ever made, that I didn't even know it was a
Not
mistake.
a mistake, just part of you learning
Right.
and ending up here. But
Correct.
cool.
And as soon as I came here, I plugged and played, and it kind of just made it work. Like the leads are just
So
there to
what
make
is it
work.
like working without leads? How do you make sales?
Family, friends, relatives, school, high school, friends. It's kind of just like whoever you meet,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of run out of those people.
So it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
What do you do when you run out of those people?
Go home and cry.
All right. So you found Family First Life, where we're a lead-based company. So you are talking to people that filled out an inquiry or requested information on insurance. It doesn't mean they're going to buy insurance. It means that they're interested in the idea of insurance. And you liked that. Started with Family First Life. How many people do you see a week that are interested in insurance now?
Between 15 to 25.
So 15 to 25 people you book an appointment with using leads. You go out and you see them. How many of those do you think you close?
About 50%, give or take.
Okay. How many do you think, do any of them no-show you?
Oh, yeah. No shows, reschedules. It's all part of the deal, but it's much better than selling friends and family.
Okay. So if you go out and do that, how much money do you make if you run 15 appointments?
On average, I want to say about $5,000.
$5,000.
Correct.
You run 15 appointments, and you can do that in a week.
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest paycheck in a week?
9,800 and some change, almost 10K.
Your biggest paycheck in a week is $9,000.
Right, that's AP.
AP, but what'd you get paid?
7,000.
You got paid $7,000 of the $9,000.
Right.
Can you go over how Family First Life, how the high commission works? Was that different from where you were at?
Huge difference. It's like day and night. Where I was at, they started us at 30%, which is ridiculous. I couldn't imagine staying there for any longer.
Mm-hmm.
When I came here, my income just kind of quadrupled.
And what do you, if you were to explain how the advance commission works, how would you explain that to somebody?
Well, basically, you get 75%
Up front.
of whatever the AP is.
Okay.
Plus your commission.
Which AP
level.
is annual premium.
Annual premium. So whatever your annual premium is, times your commission level.
Which is usually around 100%.
Correct. With
Okay.
Family First Life. And then basically 75% of that number.
And then
That's what you get
and
paid.
then you get the other 25%. They just give it to you when?
Month 10 and 12, 11 and 12.
Okay.
I still haven't gotten to that yet.
So I want to address this because somebody told me that it would be better to work somewhere with 30% because they advance you 100% of your commissions. and Family First Life only advances you 75%. So I want to explain this, okay? Family First Life pays you 100% of your commissions, whatever your commission rate is, but they hold a percentage of it. Do you know why they do that?
Why?
Because if somebody were to get a chargeback, it automatically creates an income stream for an agent in month 10, 11, and 12. It's kind of like a savings account to make sure that over time they have these that last 25% commission coming in, and it helps people be more profitable in business. So I've always loved it because a year from the week I have a big week, I get another 25% commission that I wasn't counting on. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
All right. So you're 21 years old. Do you think a lot of young people could do what you're doing?
I think anybody can do this. I think my little 14-year-old brother can do this if he had a license, right? It's amazing the opportunity that I was given to basically have leads. It's pretty simple. Buying leads, dialing leads, running appointments, and rinse in, repeat.
What's the hardest part about it?
Getting the leads, enough leads that will sustain you the amount of
Appointments you need?
Of the appointments you need. That was like the hardest thing that I didn't know how to understand. It was like simple, but I just couldn't understand.
But you weren't getting enough leads every week.
Exactly, because they costed money.
Yeah.
And I was afraid I wasn't going to make it back. But it always came back.
If you run the numbers.
Every time.
It's just the averages come back.
Yeah, and they never come back the same. About 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, most of the time.
So what if someone said you shouldn't be in a lead-based model? What would you say? Because you shouldn't have to buy leads.
Well, you can go back and cry where you're at.
All right. So for a young person, could they work part-time? I'm sorry, not for a young person, for anybody. But I just think there's a lot of people out there like you, 21 years old, that don't know that something like this is out there, that you can literally get a license, go out, make money within 2 to 3 days, have the money put in your bank account using insurance. What could somebody expect if they want to get their license? How long would it take?
On average, it takes about a week. You know, if you really put the time and effort to actually go through those classes.
And then you get your insurance license.
Yep, and that's where it starts.
And then you can start working with Family First Life, and you can sell friends and family if you want, right? But you can also use a lead program, which is really like a marketing program, to bring people to you that are interested in insurance.
Exactly.
Can you work part-time?
Absolutely.
What would that look like for somebody?
At least 30 hours a week.
What about full-time?
40 plus.
40 plus full-time.
If you want to make a profit, you'll have to put in at least 30. I want to say you can wing it at 20 hours a week. Reason why is because the leads, you got to work them once you get them, right? And they take time to work. You can't just buy 3-5 leads and then take a couple of hours to work them. Now you got a couple of appointments. Mm-hmm. But again, the amazing thing, which is crazy to me, that you can just run an appointment and basically make $1,000 plus just off of one appointment. So if you can make that,
and you're only collecting $80 from the customer.
Correct.
So like for a car, I always did the math. Like if I were to sell a car, it costs the customer, let's say $40,000 for a nice car, and then the person gets compensated. What would you make if you sold a $40,000 car?
$400.
$400, but it was a $40,000 commitment, right? Mm-hmm. And then I would always go, okay, with what we're doing, we collect one $80 check, which is not as big of a commitment as a $40,000 car, and you get paid $1,000. And then if you relate that to anything else like real estate, if you sell a house, it could be the same as collecting 5 $80 check premiums from customers as you would make selling a house or doing a loan that would take a certain amount of time. So this is, dude, I think this is the ultimate sales position ever in history. that you can get paid the fastest and the most for what you're collecting from the customer and the value you're providing.
Yeah, before I started, I thought it was too good to be true. I was like, how can you guys pay me $1,000 for signing up somebody for $80 a month?
Mm-hmm.
And we did that in car sales for like warranty. And we made $2 extra of residual income. So the difference is huge. It's funny because my uncle is a real estate agent,
Mm-hmm.
and he would sell houses. And he asked me one day, he's like, hey, what do you do? Like, what's the deal with you? And I'm like, well, I sell life insurance and I help people with, plans and stuff like that. And he was like, well, how much do you make out of a plan? I'm like, between 1,000 to 3,000 a month, 3,000 paychecks, right? And he's like, and how much is like, how much does it cost? I'm like, well, $80 to $200, a month. And he couldn't believe me because he sold houses for like 500,000, 200,000, and he would make like a 3% check.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like same exact thing that I would make in an appointment.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like 2 hours.
It's a really cool industry to be able to do. And if you factor in the return of premium option, you give someone a plan, they get all their money back, and you get your $1,000.
That's the secret sauce.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And dude, I still think it's too good to be true to this day. Okay, so what are your goals this year? You're 21. What are your realistic goals in sales this year, 2020?
Well, I want to hit Hall of Fame. That is just I cannot go to sleep without hitting that.
What does that mean?
That means I need to spank up my production by at least another 20,000 or 30,000 extra of what I'm doing right now.
And Hall of Fame is 400,000 in paid business in 1 year.
Correct.
You think you could do that?
I believe so.
You believe so, or you? That's not going to get you there, bro.
I think if I ran the number and I buy the amount of leads that are supposed to actually get me there, I'll put the work in.
Which is what?
Depends, but 80 leads a week.
80 leads a week to book you how many appointments?
30 plus.
30 plus appointments a week, 80 leads a week. You think you could go write 400 grand?
Mm-hmm. I think I can support that kind of work because I did it 1 week.
You did it 1 week and it worked.
And it worked. Why not every week?
Yeah. What would you say to somebody if you wanted to tell them about Family First Life and the opportunity of working with the company?
Dude, the number one thing I would give you, number one advice I would give you is that you got to immerse in. You have to get into trainings. You have to, reach out to your uplines. You have to actually commit and be all in instead of like halfway in. Because in life, it's just, this is the universe we live in. Is the people that are all in are the ones that are getting paid. People that are halfway in, they usually end up in debt. They usually end up in really bad situations, and that's just the way it works, So if you really want to win in this business, you have to be all in. That's just the way I look at it.
What kind of things could you do to be all in with Family First Life?
It's just little simple things, like protecting your dial time, running 30 appointments a week, waking up at 8 when like people are not getting called by other agents.
Waking up at 8?
Not 8, sorry. Starting at 8.
Oh.
Starting at 8.
I was going to say, dude.
Start calling at 8, basically.
Start calling at 8 a.m.
Correct. So it's easier to get and reach to somebody because they're not getting called by anybody else at 8. So it's easier to call them and set an appointment instead of calling them at 12 in their lunch break.
What kind of training do you plug into at the company?
Morning calls. Those are important because they get your head straight. Every morning when you like listen to those calls, it's like sometimes, because some days you have a bad day as an agent. Sometimes you don't get those goals that you wanted to do as far as AP goes. and sometimes you feel down, and listening to those calls really like raises my just my mood, and like my actual activity goes up as well because of my mental side. You know what I mean?
You get out of your own head.
Correct.
Yeah, I used to do that all the time, man. And so you get on these calls. What kind of training is on there? Have you learned anything from those?
Big time, big time. And it's just like it's very important to like know how to like create a system for your own self instead of just like being confused, right? Because being confused doesn't get you anywhere. And listening to all the trainings that we have gets all that information inside of you, and now you're like, oh, that's why that time the client says no to me, and that's why that client said let me think about it, is collecting that data and actually making it your own.
That's good. All right. What would you, if you left a house and somebody told you yes or no, do you call someone and say, what could I have done better? Or do you just say it was the customer's fault? Do you try to get better from it?
Every time.
You try to get better from it every time?
Every time. I always call my upline, and usually he'll give me some more solutions to the problem.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not going to close everyone, right? But every time I get out of a house, when I don't have the business, I always call my upline.
That's a big tip, dude, because I used to, at first, I would always blame the customer. I'd go, the customer, that guy was a jerk. No one could ever sell him. And I'd leave. And then one day I was like, maybe it's me. And so I started asking people, Paul McLean, who was just killing it in the field. I started asking him what he would do in every situation. And maybe he couldn't have done anything, but he would tell me what he would do. And then the next time I would try to add that into my presentation and slowly get better every single week. My close ratio goes up 5 to 10%. There's a lot of money there. Then it goes up another 5 to 10% over time. And then eventually you're consistently doing 10,000 a week, every week minimum, you know?
Yeah, shout out to Paul McLean.
Yeah. All right. So anything you would like to tell, and by the way, anyone who's watching live, you guys can ask Isam any question you want. Are you willing to answer any questions if somebody has something?
Absolutely.
Okay. You got anything you want to share? I got a question for you.
Sure.
What's motivating you besides money?
My parents. Actually, money does not motivate me. It's not one of those things that get me out of bed every morning. It's my parents that, because I'm an immigrant, we came here to the United States like 6 years ago, and like seeing my mom and dad going through all of that trouble to get me out of a place where I was already fine to a place where I can do better and chase my dreams and being in FFL. It's just super rewarding to me, and like also super important for me to give it back to them. Like it would be very disrespectful if I don't do it bigger, better, and help them achieve their retirement and all those things that matter to them the most. I would be selfish if I don't. So that motivates me the most.
That's cool. So you want to take care of your parents,
Correct.
give them more.
Yes.
Help them retire, take care of them pretty much.
Correct.
Cool, dude. Anything else on your mind you want to share before we wrap this thing up?
Just don't quit. It's huge because when I first started, I thought about quitting like 20 times.
Why?
Because I didn't know how to buy leads. And every time my upline would tell me buy leads, I would just be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then I would kind of like shy away from that because I didn't want to lose money.
Yeah, that's how I was.
And I would just be like, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week.
And then what would you do for work that day?
Like, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Did you tell yourself you were working?
Sometimes. And sometimes I would like do some side hustles for the dealership and stuff like that just to support myself. But the biggest regret I've had is I wouldn't say it's a regret, but it's a mistake that I made, and I learned from it. And that is buying leads right away. Fresh leads, CRM leads. We have all kinds of options out there that a new agent can plug in and start dialing and setting appointments instead of just watching a bunch of training. And that's what I actually was doing. I was just watching training. I was like, oh, well, let's just wait for.
So you were
leads to
tricking
come.
yourself by saying watching training was working.
That's right. But it wasn't.
But you learned more by just doing it.
100,000%.
All right. What's your favorite lead?
Oh man, CRM leads are my favorite. Believe it or not.
What do you mean? What's a CRM lead?
So CRM lead is basically a lead that was already worked by another agent, and they get resold in a CRM, and it's just the ROI is unbelievable, because you call a lead that is like 3 months old, and you act like they're new, and they would just say, yes, 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 come to my house, let's roll.
That's weird, right?
It's super weird, and I'm like, did the agent even call them? Did he even get in touch with them or anything? And
Dude, I used to say the same thing, and I don't know, but it's funny you said you pretended they were new, because I think the person fills stuff out in the mail all the time if they do it once, so it probably is new. They probably just filled something else out.
True. Yeah.
So you called them, and they were ready for you to come over.
Yeah, and that actually happens more often than I expected. Instead, well, at the beginning, what I used to do is I used to treat them as they were old, and be like, hey, we wasn't able to get in touch with you, things like that, and it didn't work. They were like, oh no, bye-bye. And then when I acted like they actually filled it out like yesterday, then they were like, oh yeah, come on over.
That's a big tip. So if you use any lead, just pretend like they just filled it out.
Yes. And door knock them. Those CRM leads, most of the times, the agents that actually ran those leads, they never door knock them. And some people you will never reach on the phone. Never, ever, 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 because of their schedule.
When do you door knock them?
I love door knocking on Sundays, because it's usually like the day people are off, everybody's home, and then usually I do it right after church, like after 12. I would start door knocking.
How many do you try to do on a Sunday?
As many as I can.
Which is usually what?
I would run from 12 to 6-ish. And honestly, it's so, with the CRM leads, I never run a day without actually selling something that day with the door knocks. When I'm door knocking.
You're saying most of the people, they never pick up the phone, and the agent doesn't normally go knock on their door. You do, and you always sell something.
Every time.
Real quick before we wrap up.
Or if not, I would set
an appointment.
5 appointments, 6 appointments.
And then sell one.
Yes.
What do you say when you door knock?
I just say, hey, my name's Isam. I shake their hand because it's important. You wanna like kind of like build that trust with them. And then I would be like, well, reason I'm here, reason I'm stopping by is because of your form that you filled out here. Is this your information? And I would do the thing where like I would try to like act like their phone number is wrong at the end. And then they'll be like, okay, so for example, their phone number is 206-999-4444. I would make the 444-4445. And they would always be like, oh, no, that's not my number. I'll be like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, well, that's why they wasn't able to reach you. That's why they have me here. It takes me 5 minutes to go over this information with you. Do you have somewhere we can sit? And then I'll shut up. And if they either usually say yes, come on in. And most of the times they'll be like, and I'll be like, oh, no worries. I had an appointment right down the street for myself, which I do, another door knock. I was just here to set an appointment for this, and then we can come back and go over it.
And they usually say okay.
Yes.
And you come back in.
Correct. I wrote like a $400 a month policy off of that. It was huge.
What kind of policy?
It was a HMS 125 cashback option, And then it was actually a couple, 200 and no, not 200, 150 and one like 80 or something like that. The wife was approved with HMS, but the husband had to go through American Amicable,
Because
which
it
is
didn't go
cashback
through.
option. Yes, because it
But they're
didn't go
both getting all their money back.
through. Every single penny.
And they like that.
They love it.
And what do you get paid on that?
100% of whatever that.
So you
100
got
plus
paid like
percent.
close to $4,000.
Correct.
That's pretty cool, dude.
Mhm.
Off a door knock. And did they truly not answer their phone?
Yeah, they just didn't answer the phone, and they were interested. Funny enough, they're like, "Oh, we filled this out like 2 months ago. And nobody reached out to us. What's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And they just let me in, and I talked to the husband. I eventually had to come back because the wife wasn't there. But when I came back, I kind of just wrote both of them 2 policies, and they loved it because they were gonna have that money put together so that way they can retire much faster than they are right now.
How much were they getting back?
About like 90,000, 90 something thousand, almost
90
100 grand.
something thousand. How old were they?
One is 55, the other one is 53, somewhere around their range. Low 50s.
So you write 4,000 in AP, you get paid around $4,000
Correct.
deposited.
Well, deposited in the month 10, 11, 12.
Okay, so throughout the year. So you get
That's it,
75% of
correct.
it.
You get 75%.
And then in month
right away.
10, 11, 12, you get the rest.
Exactly.
Cool, man.
Mhm.
What are your goals with building an agency?
Man, I don't want to be like too big because like I love goals. Like I want to have goals that are like big, and I can like run the numbers and be like super excited about them, and I just go out there and put the work in. But I want to hit VP by June this year.
So that's 150,000 a month as a team. By June, you want to hit VP.
Correct. I just need some high producers.
Get some recruit some people, teach them how to sell. They make a lot of money. How many people do you think you need to hit VP?
No more than 10.
So 10 people doing 15,000 a month, which is 15 sales a month, can get you to 150,000 a month. How many people do you think you're going to have to hire to find 10 serious people?
200, 300.
I don't think that many. But maybe 50 to 100 to find 10 really, really serious people.
Got it.
Why do you think some people are not real serious?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Usually it's like sometimes people, they don't believe they can do it. They see the numbers. They see the premiums that other agents are doing, but they don't think they can do it themselves. And plus they make usually it's a lot of excuses that makes the agent fail. The leads are not good. The appointments that I'm running are too far apart.
Yeah, find an excuse.
Something
All right,
like
so
that.
as we wrap this up, if someone wants to get their license, you can help them do that?
Yes, absolutely.
And
So
it's paid for? Explain that.
that's exactly what I was going to get into. So the way the license works is through the state, right? So you have to pass an exam through the state. But Family First Life provides you with the classes pretty much for free that are online. You just have to get through it fast enough, get through the exam, and you'll be good to go. Once you get that license, you just basically got a license to print money.
Okay.
That's the way I like saying it. But
Now, if someone's watching this, they can call you and they can join your team.
absolutely.
And what would that mean? How would you help them?
So number one thing I like to put my agents in, I like to put my agents in leads, right? Because that's what matters. So leads, appointments, and then
And you'll
sales.
train them. You'll tell them what to
Absolutely.
say. They can call you if they're in a home. You'll help support, get them going.
Absolutely. And that's the thing with Family First Life. And it's like a culture thing. Everybody's helping everyone out here. And it's not like I only worry about myself and I'm never going to help you out. Everyone's helping. So you're never going to lack help here. Everyone's helping out. Everyone wants to see you win. especially as a new agent. But yeah, and
What-
I've gotten a lot of help from
What's your
people
phone number if someone wants to work with you and they're watching this?
Sure. So 206-999-4832.
How do you spell your name?
Issam. ISSAM.
ISSAM.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone comes across this video, they go, I want to work with Family First Life. I want to work with that guy because he's crazy. He works hard, and I think he'll help me. And I think he has good intentions. They can call you. Is that your cell phone?
That's my cell phone. You can just get right straight into me.
And you'll help them.
100%.
Cool, dude.
The same way you guys helped me out.
Yeah, dude. Congratulations on your success so far.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you hit Hall of Fame this year. And
Consider it done.
we will get you back on for an interview after you hit Hall of Fame. Deal?
You got it.
All right, cool. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you.
Drew, you cut that yet?